Put down your baby and pick up a beer. I'm Jerry, joined here by Brandon, and this is Dad Jokes, the podcast of two first-time dads going through the journey of fatherhood, with all of you listening back at home or in the car. And this week, Brandon, we're going to talk about basically being without your baby, going out without the little one for an extended period of time. We'll go into detail of what that means, what you can do, tips and tricks, and kind of what may be normal or should you be feeling in those situations, I guess. So, but before we do that, Brandon, what's going on with you? How you been, man?
It's been a fun week. I haven't said this in a while, but I am tired. So it's a combination of both Bryce. He's had a little bit of a 9-month sleep regression, and he definitely has new teeth coming in, and it's affecting his mood to a degree. So you may be able to hear it in my voice a little bit, but we're a little tired here. And I decided, I had a friend in town, so I went out last night. But I also told Kelsey that I was going to give her the morning off today. So a late night coincided with, I did a night wake up in the middle of the night, and I took over morning duties as well to let her sleep in. So it's been a fun day.
Yeah, that sounds a little bit tiring. We've been tired in this household, too, for a number of different reasons, which I'll get into. But before we do that, Brandon, let's start with a dad joke today. I think I'll lead off if you're okay with that.
Oh, you can, because I know my joke is going to beat yours this week.
So this week, obviously, we're talking about going away from babies for an extended period of time, because actually this past week, that's what we did. And I'll kind of go over where exactly we went, why, and kind of how that went. But while we were gone, we went to a tent, Brandon, because there was like a convention going on. And I said to one of the guys in the tent, I said, dude, can I get that pamphlet? And he said, bro, sure.
Ha 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 ha. I think I just heard that in preparation
Really?
for getting ready for this. I can't remember.
That was funny. I don't know why that one made me laugh. I saw it recently, and I started
It made
chuckling.
me laugh too. That's pretty good.
So yeah, no, bro, sure. But yeah, so that's the dad joke for the week. But anything else happened this last week with Bryce and the Banks household?
Yes, actually. So I mentioned he's 9 months. I think for the last 2 weeks I've been talking about his 9-month appointment. But that finally happened. Everything went well. He's a happy, healthy baby, as we all knew. Or I guess we all assumed. He consistently, every visit, had been in like the 50th percentile for like height and weight and all that. That stayed pretty consistent, but except for height, he jumped up to the 85th percentile. And it seemed it'd been 3 months since he'd been to the doctor. I thought he was going to be a lot heavier than he had. He'd only gained about a pound in the last 3 months. So he's a little bit under 21 pounds right now.
So he's going to be a wing. He's going to be a wing, not a point guard or a center. He's a wing. That's what I'm hearing.
We'll see. Maybe he'll be a tall guard. We'll see. But yeah, he's apparently he's grown a little bit. So he's got that going for him. He definitely gets the height from his mom's side of the family, not the dad's side of the family. But one interesting thing, interesting is a weird way to put it, but we had to have some testing done after the doctor's appointment. Part of that was some allergy testing. So we went to a local facility. It's blood testing, so they have to like draw blood. So for anybody who's a little squeamish, I guess hit like the 30-second portion. Jill, you have to just listen to this part because you're one of the people. But
hey, if you don't hear me, that means I passed out. That's what let's take over the rest of the podcast.
I want to prep people who don't know what you have to be prepared for, because I had an idea, but you should know. So if they need like to do any testing, like blood testing or anything like that, what we had to do, we went into a local Quest Diagnostic Center, and basically Kelsey held Bryce, and they were looking for a vein like they do for me, for you, for anyone. So they put like the little rubber band on one arm, looked, put it on the other arm, looked, was like, yep, I think we're gonna go with this one. They grabbed the little baby needle, and they had me hold his arm down. I'm telling you guys this on purpose because it's like it sucks. And he definitely did not like it. He was screaming the entire time. And then this is the part that is annoying. The entire process is annoying. But for the testing that they have to do, they need a certain amount of blood. And the person who did the testing looked at the amount that they had, said, "Yep, that's perfect. We have everything we need." Confirmed that, and then a few hours later, we get back. I get a voicemail, and they tell me that they didn't get enough blood for the allergy testing, which is the main reason we wanted to be there in the first place. Oh, I thought that Kelsey was going to go up there, and I had to tell her, "Hey, people make mistakes. I make mistakes." Yeah, she was on the same wavelength that you were on, and I know how you would have reacted to that. I was super mad, but I think I had a little bit of time to digest it. And everybody makes mistakes. Like I make mistakes in my job. Jerry doesn't realize it, but he makes mistakes at his job too.
It wouldn't even be necessarily the mistake part of it, because you're right.
It's the fact that you got to put your kid back through this again.
Yeah, it's
so. Long story short,
it's understandable. It's just I'd be mad because I don't want to do it twice. Doing it once sounds horrible.
We did the early allergy testing because you guys may remember from a few months back. Peanut butter was one of the first things we introduced Bryce to. Long story short, we haven't taken him back for the allergy testing, and the boy just got some peanut butter today and has not reacted. So
that's good.
Yeah. So because we ended up figuring out that it may have been the soap as opposed to the peanut butter. So we decided we may forego the allergy testing since we don't really want to go through that again. Because that was pretty tough.
Might have made that decision for us too. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Macy may be okay with that. I think you might have to have somebody else go. Yeah, you need that. Well, you're gonna want somebody else to go with her.
Yeah,
but
yeah, we might have to.
It ain't gonna be you.
It don't sound like it's gonna be
the
me.
The listeners don't know your history with needles.
Yeah, like I don't. And for those listening, needles don't scare me. Blood doesn't scare me. But something about needles taking blood, and I will pass out. And I don't know if it's genetic or not, because it's all the men in my family are that way, and it's no matter how many times I try not to, it doesn't go well for me. And those combined, again, you show me a needle, people think it bugs me, doesn't bother me. A gory movie, tons of blood, doesn't bother me at all. It's big too.
Stop. Wait, what you mean people think about it? Like, do you have people walking up to you randomly showing you needles?
Oh, guys at work do. Guys at work would put needles as my background on my computer and stuff when they find this out. Like, that legit's happened. Because people find this out and they think it's hilarious.
That's hilarious.
But it doesn't bother me. Like it's simply the act of doing it. So it's and honestly, it's worse usually seeing someone than myself. If it's myself, I can usually look the other way or not focus on it at all. But if I'm with someone, it's bad. So I'm not looking forward to that. But that was
one of the tougher experiences that since Bryce has been born. I did not, and I put on a brave face because I knew Kelsey was not having a good time, and he definitely wasn't. But it was tough.
It for sure sounds tough. That's definitely.
And then they got the nerve to call my phone, leave a voicemail, say we didn't get enough. Ooh.
Well, Brandon, my week was man, I tell you what, my week was crazy. It seems like it's been forever since I talked to you, and the week flew by at the same time, but also a lot of stuff happened. We had a trip basically. So for those of you, we're going to get in more details about this, but we went on a work trip that we had won. So it was a work trip that we won. Basically, Brandon and myself, we work for Chevrolet, for a dealership, and Chevrolet sent some of the top dealers in the country to Nashville. So it was a work trip, but it was for fun. It was, it was like a awards recognition type thing. And so we went Wednesday morning, we left, and we came back Saturday, and it was a lot of fun. It was in Nashville, their CMA Fest, which my wife is a huge country music fan. I like country music as well. So we got to do a lot of events down there. I'd never been to Nashville. She hadn't. We saw a lot of things. It was fun. It was a great time. I kind of go into the whole trip in itself. But it was busy. It was a lot going on. But before we left was chaotic, getting ready to go on the trip. Peyton also was kind of cranky those couple days, so that was intense. And then I got back yesterday, and, getting back, trying to get everything in place. And then Macy started not to feel well, and she's been pretty sick. And Peyton, I think, has been kind of sick. She's kind of had like watery eyes and been crankier than normal. So I've been trying to basically take care of Peyton mostly because I know Macy doesn't want to get her more sick. We've been trying to deal with, if Macy's got to call into work. And I've also been trying to stay semi-healthy myself. So it's been a kind of a whirlwind of a week, Brandon. One thing I did want to bring up is Peyton started being cranky right before we were leaving, which of course is just the way that it goes, right? And I looked at my phone. I remember telling you this at work because I'm like, is she going through a leap? And she's not. But if you look at Wonder Weeks, if anyone has the Wonder Weeks app or looks it up online, there's one period in all the leaps that instead of yellow signifying that they're in a leap is red. And I'm like, what is this redness? So I click on basically what is the redness, and it says crying, clinginess, and crankiness. The 3 C's around 29 and 30 weeks are not telltale signs of another leap, but Peyton has simply discovered that her mommy and daddy can walk away and leave her behind. And as funny as it may sound, this is progress. It's a new skill she's learning about distance. But basically it means that they are very, very cranky during this period, which coincided with us leaving her for the first time.
I can recognize that you
correct.
That you
very
guys
ironic, kind of crazy, but
you didn't read me that part. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I mean, what are the odds of that? I didn't know until like the day before we left that this was going on. But she's definitely has been pretty cranky since we got back. She wants to be held, which is tough because Macy's trying not to hold her because she's sick and doesn't want to get her sick. But the good news is right before bed, I was in her nursery for about the last hour before bed, put her on the floor. I was reading her stories, and she was having the time of her life. It's the happiest she's been since we've been back. So that was kind of cool right before bed. And I'll go into a lot more detail of kind of our week when we go over the actual segment of our show today, where we're talking about, extended periods away from the baby. But it's been, like I said, it's been a whirlwind, Brandon. A good week. I'm kind of I can't remember what day it is sometimes. Tomorrow I'll go back to work, and it'll be interesting. I'm sure that'll kind of get me back on schedule. I just feel a little frazzled, if you will, for right now.
Well, you've been missed at work, Jerry. We've not had a great time without you. I'm saying that tongue in cheek. It's been a great time.
Yeah, you guys probably threw lots of parties and got away with murder. I like it.
Yeah, exactly. But I do have a piece of baby gear this week to go over, Jerry. And you know the Banks family, and we have a history of bouginess and some
high class.
That's a good
Pinky
way to put
up.
it. I'm glad you. Yes. And so a while back, we were exploring options for high chairs, and as we were building out our registry, I told Kelsey, because we were looking at some specific high chairs, I was like, hey, we got to cut costs somewhere. Like, we're not spending X amount of dollars on a high chair. We're not doing this. Like, let's cut costs. Like, we have to do it in certain areas. So we strategically picked out certain areas because we knew we were spending in other areas. And we said, hey, this is where we're gonna cut costs at. So it was a high chair. It was a few other areas that we decided that. Well, we get a specific high chair, and it's fine. It does the job. We don't particularly like it, but it gets the job done. Well, Bryce spends a ton of time at my parents' house. They want a high chair at their house. We ended up using like some tabletop chairs more often at our house as well. So long story short, our old high chair goes to my parents' house. They keep it there. Bryce loves it. But we are in need of a new high chair. And so all that talk of cutting costs and all that go out the window.
You guys bought a throne.
It's been a minute since I spent some money on Bryce. So he got the trip trap, the Stokey trip trap.
You got the
the
throne. The what's the throne in Game of Thrones called? That's what he got.
I'm having a brain fart right now, but it does match the aesthetic of the kitchen table. It's a chair that will grow with him. It's probably the most expensive. It's probably the most expensive chair in the house, other than the Lazy Boy that we
Which
also
you don't use.
for him.
That you don't use.
Well, I use that Lazy Boy.
I thought you told me you regretted buying that Lazy Boy. You said that
Oh,
you
not
wish
the
you would have done
lazy
something
boy.
different. Okay, maybe I
Lazy,
misunderstood.
lazy. No. Oh, I wish we'd done a wall glider instead of just a straight up.
Okay, that's what it was. I knew
Like,
there's something
yeah,
about that you said you wish it would have done
yeah.
different.
But no, that lazy boy gets used multiple times a day. But it is ironic. The two most expensive chairs in the house probably are related
Or
to the price.
Bryce's.
But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
but I do love this chair. Very easy to clean.
Well, I
It
hope so.
high quality.
How
Meets
many
the
dollars
standard
per
that was
use?
set. We need to use this to get underneath the dollar per use. We need to use this a couple more times a day for the next like 6 months.
Oh,
At
that's
least.
great. I like it.
But
our
the chair will grow with him. He'll have this chair legitimately for like the next 10 years.
Yeah, I mean our chair is okay. I would say that I'm not in love with our high chair, but I also don't hate it. It's okay, but I also think Peyton's, because she's so small, it's still not. We'll probably put her in it, and she doesn't necessarily need to be in the high chair to eat. But we'll see when she gets a little bit bigger how I feel about it. But I have a piece of baby.
He will never have another chair.
He will
never.
never
He like, and if he ever asked to sit anywhere, I'm taking this chair with us to like restaurants.
He'll be going to high school.
I'm bringing my own chair. Yeah, I'm asking his teachers in high school, can we bring this chair with us?
That's great. So my piece of baby gear, Brandon, isn't like anything specific, but it's something that I thought I'd bring up because we talk about a lot of toys and different pieces of gear that we like. And, oftentimes, people joke you spend all this money on baby toys and entertaining your kid, and then they want to chew on the tag of the toy. That's their favorite thing or whatever. But Peyton's favorite toy actually is something that I don't even know who bought it for her. She's had it since someone bought it for us on the shower, for the baby shower. I don't even remember who it was. But it's just one of those little mini plastic and metal xylophones. And they're not expensive. You can buy them almost anywhere. But she freaking loves this toy, Brandon. So if I recommend getting one if you don't have one, because she will sit there and play with it or eat the little thing you're supposed to, the little mallet, or play on it or listen to me play on it for just long period of time. And she's like her dad. She's got ADD. She doesn't like to do anything for too long. But that thing, it'll keep her entertained for a while. So that's I highly recommend it. If you got a musical toy, it seems to amaze her every time she hears it making noise. She's like, this thing's awesome.
Sounds like for her first birthday, I'm buying her a drum set.
That's fine, because she'll probably play 5 minutes a day and then go do something else, because that's just what she does.
No, we'll teach her I'll buy her and Bryce matching drum sets.
I kind of hope she's musical, because I've never been, and I wish I was, but I was. I actually today I just said to Macy, I said, you know what, I wouldn't mind putting her in piano lessons, and I never thought I'd say that. So we'll see if that actually happens, but it's something I just said today. Things your husband said, and we usually say things your wife said. Things I said.
I spent a lot of years in piano lessons growing up, and I can't say that it made me a better person.
I can concur.
I don't know what I can definitely play Mary Had a Little Lamb, and I can read piano music very slowly, but I don't know what life skill it really gave me other than frustration. I did not pick up piano well. Everything else I did well with, but I'm cutting. I should give myself a little more credit. I'm actually decent at the piano. But
I always thought piano was so cool. Like, if you go somewhere and there's like a piano and then someone just jumps on and starts playing, even if they're not that good, I'm like, that's dope. That's cool. Like, I wish I could do that. Now, again, if you can't sing,
if you
it
go
also
somewhere
hurts
and
it.
there's a random saxophone and somebody throws it to me, then I'll be great.
You get your own reed.
Piano,
You just pull it out.
Piano,
Start playing.
no, just uniform reed.
Oh,
I'll take whatever reed's available.
All right, Brandon. Well, let's get into today's actual episode. That's going away from your baby for an extended period of time. So let's first clarify, what is an extended period of time? Well, honestly, an extended period of time really depends on you. If you're someone who's a stay-at-home mom, an extended period of time could be going out to dinner. If you are someone that works regularly, extended period of time probably means overnight without your child. That could be a day, a few days, a week. It all just really depends. But really, it means going away longer than what is normal and honestly probably what is comfortable, at least at the beginning, because it can be uncomfortable. It can be scary the first few times that you do go away from your children. I guess I want to preface everything that we're talking about today, Brandon, by saying that sometimes this is a taboo topic. You get parents on both sides. You get some parents that will almost like as a badge of honor say, I never traveled anywhere overnight without my kids until they were 7. And it's like, okay. And then you get the other parents that are like, oh, my baby was, 3 weeks old and we went away for a couple nights, just us. And it's like, okay. And I'm not saying one's right or one's wrong, but I think that it depends on you. It depends on your significant other, and it depends on probably the baby to a degree. There's no right or wrong answer, and there's no saying that, hey, if you leave early, you're a bad parent, or if you don't ever do it, you're a great parent or a bad parent there too. I think it's really finding what's comfortable for you and what makes sense. So to kind of go into our trip recently, so it was interesting. This wasn't planned very long in advance because, like I said, Brandon, we won this trip, and I found out about it just a few weeks ago. And at first, initially, when I got told, I was like, hey, you guys, we won this trip, Jerry. Do you want to go on it? I was kind of like, yeah, probably not. It just seems like a lot. I was kind of being negative. I was like, that seems like a lot. Macy's not going to want to leave Peyton, and we just have to get everything together. I don't know. I was kind of like, nah. And then I started hearing that it was in Nashville, and we'd always kind of wanted to go to Nashville. I started hearing how it was during CMA Fest, and Macy loves all the artists that were going to be there. And I started thinking, you know what? It also probably would be good for us to have some time between just the two of us. So the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what? I'm kind of open to it. Let me ask Macy about it. And she actually was very open to it too. And so we decided to do it, and we had only a few weeks to prepare. We obviously first made sure we had someone that could watch Peyton. That was step one, which her mom was so gracious to do so for us. Actually, it was her mom, and she had some helpers, my father-in-law and my sister-in-law, and then even some like grandparents and stuff came over to help, great-grandparents for Peyton. But we went on this trip, Brandon, and for us, like I said, it was a great trip. It was a lot of fun. But the one thing that was kind of good for us, too, is that it was very scheduled. And normally I like my trips to relax and kind of, just do nothing because I'm so scheduled all the time, and I always have to be on. But this was nice because it was scheduled. You didn't have a lot of time to like sit and just think and wonder because we were doing stuff all the time. So it kept us busy. It kept our minds busy. And it was really great. So, for us, it was kind of the perfect amount of time because we left Wednesday. So I saw Peyton Wednesday morning. We came back Saturday. I saw her Saturday. So really it was only Thursday and Friday we didn't see her in person. And normally during the week, I actually saw her more on Wednesday than I would on a normal Wednesday. And I saw her more on Saturday than I would on a Saturday at work. So really it was 2 days where we didn't see her, which was kind of the perfect amount of time. We were ready when we came back home, definitely to see her, but it was long enough too where we were able to have some time together and have a lot of fun. So that's kind of the big trip that we've had away. That was Macy's first time away from her, my second time away from her, and I'll kind of go into what we did to prepare for it and how it went throughout it, Brandon. But I guess what's your experience been with time away from Bryce, and what are your guys' thoughts on extended time away?
Well, so to this point, I am the only one of us who has had time away from Bryce, and the first time it was weird. It sometimes as guys, and I know we have both dads and moms and dads to be's and moms to be's who listen to this podcast. From a guy perspective, sometimes it's weird having all these emotions and realizing you're having these emotions that you're not used to. Because leaving Bryce for the first time was like truly an emotional experience for me. I was like anxious leading up to it, and it was tough because I didn't want to put it into words because I didn't want to I didn't want to let Kelsey know that I was actually anxious about it. And it's strange because you know that things are gonna it's strange when you're leaving them with your significant other or someone you trust, like grandparents, things like that. You know they're going to be okay. Like, that's not really your worry, but it's still a worry at the same time. It's like it's inexplicable. But so and I was leaving to go have fun. It was for a bachelor party, a golf trip. I was definitely anxious, a little emotional leaving, but it kind of hit me after the first day. And after that first day on the trip, I was actually ready to come home. Like, I was thinking about them all the time. I FaceTimed with them. And the more I actually talked to them, the more it made me feel like I was like missing out to a degree. Mm-hmm. So it was just something you kind of you got to do it to get through it. Put that on a t-shirt. That's a bar. And it definitely it gets better. Like the next time it happened was, it sucked, but it was literally the next weekend I had to leave again, and it was on a work trip. For whatever reason, that was a little bit easier. It was a short amount of time, or shorter amount of time, and also it wasn't fun. So I think I felt less guilty about it, if that makes sense. Like I was there, I was like working, like I wasn't like necessarily happy that I was going, and so I was still having like the FaceTime conversation. Like
no, that makes perfect sense that you said that, because I feel that the first time I went away too, it was almost. I agree with you. It was like you said, it was almost like there was like a guilt into it because you're leaving the baby behind, and you almost felt like you were missing out more. Whereas this time we both went away, and honestly, when we both went away, I felt less. It was a different experience, but I felt less like guilt, because it was like, okay, we're together, we're here, we're doing something to work on us, or like help our relationship, and it's not just me doing my own thing away from my family.
You also feel some guilt to your partner to a degree. Like the first trip was a bachelor weekend on Mother's Day weekend. So
yes, it was.
It was doubly guilty to a degree, because I mean you're coming back on Mother's Day Sunday. So and you played that better than I did. You came back earlier in the day, which kind of gave you an opportunity to spend more time with Macy that day. Which going back, I would have tried to play that a little bit differently, but it's still like I don't know. I can't really. It's hard to put into words exactly how I feel, and I still struggle with, like, I never have been anxious before I had Bryce. And I'm still like not really naturally. I don't really have those types of emotions a ton, but when it comes, it's situations like this, and it's like, what is this feeling?
Yeah, and I think the big thing about it is to your point, and kind of even what I've been talking about, is to start small, and you got to start somewhere. Otherwise, I think it's just, and this is my opinion. I could be wrong on this. My opinion is if you wait too long, it's going to become way more difficult. I think if you start small, and small can be, hey, we're going to go out and get dinner tonight while someone watches the baby for a couple hours. And it's probably going to be a little bit uncomfortable, and you probably are going to be worried. But then the next time, maybe it's a little bit less. And then again, like you said, you're at some point in time, depending on your job or what you do, you might have to be away for a night or two. But if you kind of start small or test it out, it will help. So this was our first time away together, Macy's first time away from Peyton for a night ever, which also means it was the first time anyone watched her overnight. And that's kind of, so if you're going to go away, the biggest thing you're going to do is figure out who's watching your kid. I mean, that's the biggest thing. If you don't have anyone you trust, doesn't matter. You got to go to plan B. You can't go away. You got to have someone you trust. So we're blessed to have multiple people we trust, and that's we're very fortunate for that. But you got to have someone you trust, and then the person that you trust, you want to make sure they're prepared. So one, you might even do a trial run. We didn't do this, but some people I've heard have done trial runs where they take them for a night just to see how it goes, get through the bumps, and then you're nearby in case they need you or they need to call you or it doesn't work out for whatever reason. So that's an option. But you want to make sure they're prepared. One thing that's good for us is that when we both work, whoever watches Peyton is with them from 7 a.m. to like 8 p.m. sometimes. So it's basically the whole entire day. There's nothing in the day they don't do other than the bedtime routine and the overnight routine, which is the hardest. I won't argue that. But other than that portion, they know how to do everything when they watch Peyton. So that we've been blessed with that. So that part wasn't really difficult. It was just, what's the bedtime routine? What can you expect? How can you do it? So for us, we knew that Macy's mom was going to watch Peyton, and she actually stayed at our house, which made it a little bit easier. Same environment. We had all our stuff where she needed it, wanted it to be. And then she was able to watch Peyton for those few days and kind of stay right nearby. Peyton was able to be in her own crib. And then what we did is we made her a cheat sheet of exactly what to do during the day, kind of the schedule she normally is on, and then what bedtime looks like. And we went over that with her and kind of left it with her, and I think that was helpful. So the other things too, in preparation, Brandon, a big thing, I talked about having someone you trust. The second biggest thing is if your baby's still breastfeeding or eating regular foods, having that ready is a big category. For us, Peyton is still breastfeeding, and not that we're like against supplementing if we needed to be, but this happens to coincide right with this formula shortage. So we knew right away, like, hey, we should probably try to have enough breast milk ready for when we leave for her to be fed as many times as she needs to be fed a day, plus a few extras just in case. So Macy started to prepare right when we found out about this trip, basically pumping an extra time a day and then trying to pump after every feed to get an extra ounce or two so that we had enough stored up for when we were gone, because she didn't have a big supply or anything like that. We didn't have like a storage area of a bunch of breast milk sitting around. We had to kind of make it in preparation, and she did. She did a good job of making pretty much just enough for us to be gone, a little bit more than just enough. And then while she was gone, we had to pump as well, and I'll go into that in a minute because that's its whole thing in itself too, Brandon. But those are the big things before leaving, like I said, with a couple other things too. But the big things is someone you trust, and then having the food or breast milk together for them.
And I think the test run is important, and maybe not important, but the thought process behind it, and it's being comfortable, and it's not only for yourself, but for your partner. So for me, one thing I have written down in my notes here is just like, is there a difference in like how moms feel versus how dads feel about it? And nobody can really answer that question. But I do think that there's some sort of like the way Kelsey gets like emotional about potentially leaving Bryce is even as emotional as I got about it. It's still different. I mean, that's the experience that I have with my wife. Things could be different with everybody's experience. But you do need to understand like your partner from a dad's perspective and what makes them comfortable. Like for me, it's weird. Just like you guys, we have like my parents and her parents we will both be comfortable with them watching Bryce overnight, even though that hasn't happened yet to this point. But like I know for Kelsey, if she's leaving to go somewhere or if I'm leaving, it makes her comfortable to like go over a checklist, just like you mentioned, of things that are needed. Even if she knows good and well that all these things are like in the bag and done, her like mentally and physically going through, hey, these things are in the bag and taken care of, it just like puts her at ease and lets her know everything's going to be fine. That's a part of her process. I think walking someone through in a test run, it is that same thought process. You're making yourself comfortable, so that you can actually go out and enjoy yourself, or be able to really sleep at night if you are away from your baby.
Yeah, and we live in a blessed time too, Brandon, because I mean we were away. And I won't lie to you, you know, obviously we missed Peyton the whole time we were gone, and I think it was tough for Macy at certain points. Like I said, luckily we were busy, and it was a lot of fun, so I think we were both definitely happy that we did it. But we live in a time when there's texting, there's FaceTime, there's ability to get pictures like instantly.
Yeah, FaceTime's amazing.
So we FaceTimed every day. We got tons of pictures every day, and we were a phone call with it, which made us feel good because if something had happened, we were right by our phone. Other than the hour and 16-minute plane ride to Nashville, it was very, very easy to be reached. So we had that ease. The other thing that really helped us,
the Nanit.
That was it. That was exactly what I was going to say. The Nanit helped a ton because I know, and Macy was looking at it at night, and so was I. We knew what was going on. Didn't stress us out like, oh my gosh, she's being horrible for Grandma and Grandpa, or oh nope, Grandma and Grandpa know what's going on. They're taking care. It made us feel great, and so I loved the fact that we had the Nanit. We both felt good about that, and it was almost a comfort, like you said. That was a big thing for us. So the
Nanit was huge. Like you quite literally, like I was gone, and I'm literally watching Bryce sleep. His breathing band is on. I quite literally know, like, I mean, it sounds basic and dumb, but I quite literally know he's alive and sleep and doing well and all, just like you mentioned.
Yeah, it just helps keeps you at peace and sleep a little bit easier. One thing I do want to go into, I kind of hit on this a little bit earlier, but if you're going to be breastfeeding or if you're still breastfeeding while you leave away from your baby, you're going to have to pump while you're gone. So that's kind of an adventure in itself. Is you got to carry your pump obviously with you, which you can carry that on to an airplane. I found out, Brandon, it doesn't count as like a carry-on or a personal item. That's separate because it's a medical equipment. So they can't give you crap about that, but you want to make sure you have it and you let them know when you're going through security what it is. And then when you're gone, I won't lie to you, that was the one thing that was difficult about the trip is everything you do, you have to plan around when they can pump. Because it's like, hey, we're going to be gone for 7 hours. Oh, do we have to bring it with us? Or, hey, can we go back to the hotel in between these two events? Or what, so you really got to make sure when you're planning a trip, if your wife is pumping still or is breastfeeding still, that you work pumping in and figure out what you have to do. The other thing you got to decide.
Got to make sure the hotel got a freezer.
Correct. We called the hotel ahead of time and talked about, is there a fridge in the room? And then is there a sanitation device or a microwave to sanitize the items? And they said they'd bring one up. So those are things we did ahead of time as well. Macy did a good job of being prepared for that. But then you got to decide if you're going to keep the breast milk and you're going to fly it back or if not. And a lot of women are probably going to want to keep it because if you're producing all that, you want to still have it, which that is difficult because, again, you got to store it. But then when you come back, this is the weird part, Brandon. You think that there's lots of women that are going to be traveling with breast milk. I don't feel like that'd be rare, but yet you hear a lot of stories. I read some stories beforehand, and then we kind of experienced some too. When we were traveling back, we told them, hey, there's breast milk in here because, it's liquid over the allowed ounce amount. And they're like, oh, okay. And then they get it out. They're kind of being weird about it. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, we can either test everything, every single bag, or we can just pat you down thoroughly, basically to Macy. Which, one, what does that have to do with breast milk? So I'm kind of
wait, what?
Yeah, exactly. That was their process. And so she basically went off to the side and they basically frisked her from head to toe. Now, the lady who did it was a female and she was super nice and I'm sure she was just doing her job. But I was irked by this because I'm like, this is dumb. What does this have to do with her having breast? Like, I don't understand. Like, she's going to have a weapon on her because, and like, if there's something, I don't know. It was the weirdest thing.
Well, I'm not even going to say what I'm thinking.
Yeah, so it was.
I think everybody who's listening is
correct.
Thinking the same
it has
thing
the same
we both
thought.
are thinking.
So, anyways, it was like a 10, 15-minute extra process, which wasn't like the end of the world. And I'm not the one who was getting frisked. I'm just standing there watching it. But
I'm more worried about national security.
Well, that's the other thing too. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense either. So I don't know, but you gotta be aware that when you travel back, you gotta let them know you have it, and then they can do some weird things. Some airports, I've been told, will automatically have to test the breast milk. If they do that, make sure you ask them to put on a clean pair of gloves so they're not contaminating your breast milk. That's something that I read that you should ask. Which the lady literally did that for us. She said, "Hey, I'm putting on a new pair of gloves right now, just so you know." So that was nice too. But it was kind of interesting. So Macy had one of those breast pump and breastfeeding bags, like a backpack that has like freezer bags in it to keep the breast milk cold and to keep her pumping and stuff. So she had that in addition to having her carry-on. But that was a whole experience as well, and it was fine. It's just you do have to have your schedule around pumping, and it's interesting. It was different. I've never had that with
just so I'm
before.
Clear. You basically had a choice of being patted down or the breast milk tested.
Right, and the breast milk was tested. They had to test every single bag.
It's an either or. It's not a and.
No, it was either or.
Okay, that doesn't make sense at all.
It made zero sense. I still don't understand the thought process behind it, but that's what they did. So that was kind of that in a nutshell.
Hopefully no terrorists listen to the podcast.
Exactly. I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, I don't know. It was bizarre. Well, one thing I will say though is so we went, and like I said, it was a good amount of time. I think it was the perfect amount of time for us. And then when we came back, we were definitely excited to see her. It was kind of funny when we first saw her. She was napping. When we got home, when she got up from a nap, we went to go get her together, and she kind of looked at us at first and kind of smiled, and then all of a sudden she like started bawling. Like, I think it was like a lot of emotion, or like she was just like, I've never seen her make that face before. And then she started laughing again, and then it was just like she was overcome with emotion. It was kind of cute, but also heartbreaking at the same time. And for the next 5 minutes, she was kind of a little bit of a wreck, but then she was definitely happy to see Mom and Dad, which made it all worth it. And she was kind of glued to us, or it has been since we've been home since then. But her face, it was priceless. She was kind of, like I said, it was like so happy to like, no, don't ever leave me again. Which kind of broke your heart a little bit.
Yeah. You should have recorded that. That's amazing.
Oh, it was definitely. I won't forget that face. But Brandon, like, I know you haven't gone together with Kelsey. My big thing I would tell everyone is you got to know your significant other. You got to know the relationship you're in. You also got to know your baby. everyone's different, and you're going to figure out your own timetable, but it's never going to be easy. It shouldn't be easy. So if you go away, it's not like, hey, it's just going to magically one day be okay. The first time's always going to be tough. You're always going to miss your kid. There's always going to be pros and cons to it, but I also think it's important to have a strong relationship with your spouse and to work on that. And some people, they can do that every single day. Some people can have date nights every single week. Some people need to go on trips. There's different ways to do that. It's not one size fit all, but again, know your relationship. I know for Macy and me, I work a lot of hours. It's hard sometimes for us to get the time during the weeks, so going away for a few days was great for us because we got to spend some more time together that we haven't had a lot of lately. So it was really nice for us just to kind of get away and to be us for a little bit, because a lot of times when Peyton goes to bed, she doesn't go to bed at 8:30, and then we're doing bottles and all that. That's one thing that's really nice is when you're away, just not having to look over and be like, oh, there's bottles to clean, there's the house to clean, oh, there's getting this ready for the next day, because the baby dominates your life, and it should. But there's just, even when if the baby's taking a nap, there's still a million things you have to do because of the baby or for the baby for when they wake up.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's no manual to this. If you guys are doing a quote unquote test run, say you're going out to dinner and you have someone watching the baby for the first time, and you or your wife decide that you're 20 minutes in and you can't handle it and you need to go home, go home. Try again a different day. There's no right or wrong answer. There's no way to really tell how you're gonna react. But it's just important to do what's best for you, what's best for your partner, what's best for your family. But you got to do it at some point.
I mean, life goes on. I mean, you're still.
Maybe you don't.
I think. I mean, everyone, like I said, if you don't, I'm not judging you. You don't have to. But I think that you're still you, and you're still the couple, and then you're also still a family. I mean, there's different levels to it, but you gotta figure out what works for you. The last thing I'll say, Brandon, is a huge shout out to my in-laws. They were absolute rock stars, did just a fantastic job. It's really nice to be able to have people you trust and not have to stress out. I was never worried about Peyton. I was a little worried about them and them getting sleep and them having to deal with her craziness. But I wasn't ever worried about my kid and them being okay. So it was just fantastic having them. My mother-in-law sent me tons of pictures, sent us tons of pictures. She even did a photo shoot, like a little photo shoot while we were gone. Lots of videos, FaceTiming. So she was fantastic. It was really nice. Peyton got to go to her great-grandmother's birthday party while we were gone and saw a lot of family there. So that was really cool. But, again, everyone's different. I will tell you, though, sometimes having a little you and your significant other time can be a good thing. And it's okay to sometimes have a relationship away from your kid, even if it's just for a couple hours or for a day or two, Everyone's different. Find what works for you guys. At least have the conversation too, because like you said, Brandon, not everyone's the same. You might be okay, like, hey, I'd go on a week-long vacation today, and then Kelsey's like, no, we're not leaving for even 2 hours. You got to have the conversation, otherwise you're not going to know, and then maybe you can compromise and meet in the middle.
Exactly. You ready for these jokes, Jerry?
I'm ready for these jokes, Brandon. Hit me with them. All
right. One. The shirt you're wearing right now would have been the best dad joke of the day. Probably, it's pretty solid. His shirt says Jerry's a little bit of a beer snob, and his shirt says IPA in big letters, and then underneath a lot when I drink. I'll let you guys do the math on that. But the dad joke I have today, Jerry, what was one thing the cross-eyed teacher had no control over?
I don't know.
His pupils.
I like it.
Yeah, I did too.
That's good. I like it. Speaking of being a beer snob too, Brandon, Nashville, loved the city, loved the music, cool vibe, not a good beer city. It was funny. One of the guys when we were leaving.
But what about a chicken city?
We got some hot chicken, and I got some that was real hot. And Macy had some of it, and she doesn't like spicy things. I was like, I was proud of her. She ate it, but it was spicy. But we were leaving, and one of the guys that was on the trip with us, literally, I heard him tell his wife, he was like, I would do this exact same trip, but with better beer. And I was like, hey,
did you guys go to Hattie B's?
I don't think we did. We went a lot of places, but I don't think we went there.
Oh, you got to go back and go to Hattie B's.
Oh, we got to go.
I should have told you that before you went.
You should have, Brandon. But
I forgot.
I don't know. It was fun. That was my first time down there. It was definitely a lot of fun. A lot of good music, and we had some good weather. So tomorrow's back to reality for us, and like I said, I don't think we'll be traveling without Peyton for at least a few months. But if nothing else, it was a good first run. We've done it now, and I think we better know how to handle it and also what emotions we can expect to feel from it, if that makes sense.
Makes complete sense, Jerry.
All right, well, for everyone out there, if this is the first time listening to us, please like us on Facebook, Instagram, follow us on TikTok, write a review, all that good stuff. Tell your friends about us. We like hearing from each and every single one of you. But until next time, I'm Jerry, joined here by Brandon, and you've been listening to Dad Jokes.